So we already covered the number one high school point guard recruits in the nation over the last 10 years, and we saw a lot of inconsistencies. We saw an NBA champion, rookie of the year players, but we also saw normal starters, bench players, and people who never played more than 3 games in the NBA. The top recruits in high school are often a good indication on how they'll do in college and the NBA, but obviously this isn't always the case. So let's see what happened in the number one shooting guard recruits over the last 10 years. And we're going to be starting out in 2010 because the 2021 number one shooting guard, we don't really know because he's still in high school, so let's start out in 2010. And in this year, the number one shooting guard recruit was Will Barton. He was 8th overall, and he had a wild high school career. He actually reclassified after his sophomore year, and not in the direction that we're used to. So we actually played 5 years of high school hoops, and he did so for 4 different teams. The 5-star recruit landed in Memphis and made an instant impact. He was trusted with the offense from a very young age and actually led his team in minutes his freshman year. But this wasn't an NBA draft caliber season, so he decided to run it back for another year. And this would prove to be a great idea because he exploded, averaging over 18 points and 8 rebounds a night. And this seemed good enough to him, so he gave up his last 2 years of eligibility and declared for the NBA draft, where he would slip further than I expected him to, but he got picked up in the second round of the Portland Trailblazers. He would spend 4 years in Portland and never really found his groove, only averaging about 4.5 points a game with mediocre minutes and only starting 5 games total. But life changed when he got traded to the Denver Nuggets. He started playing significantly better, and he's been a crucial part of the team's success ever since. A reliable 3-point shooter, but I don't want to spend too much time on him because we have a lot more players to cover. In 2011, it was Austin Rivers, and he was ranked 3rd overall. And if you haven't seen Austin Rivers in high school, I'm very glad you get to see these highlights now. So you can't say anymore, oh, he only got in the league because of his dad. This dude was a bucket and so much fun to watch. He killed it in high school and committed to Duke University and was another one-and-done prospect. He was selected 10th overall by the Hornets, and this is when the Pelicans were still called the Hornets. And he actually chose to wear number 25 in the NBA because that's the number his dad wore. He was quoted by saying, "I want to be just like my dad, only better." That made me laugh when I heard that. But he has bounced around the league a lot in his 9-year career so far, and even though I love Austin Rivers and he's having a great year this year and he had a great year in 2017 with the Clippers, his career has not quite lived up to what me and a lot of other NBA fans thought it was going to be watching him in high school and college. In 2012, the number one shooting guard recruit was Marcus Smart, and he was 10th overall. And he didn't choose the blue blood route. He went to Oklahoma State University and had actually a very solid first year. He decided to come back and had a slightly better season, but he decided his draft stock was high enough and he declared for the NBA draft. He was taken 6th overall by the Boston Celtics, which seems weird to even say now because it's hard to think of people who have been playing for the same teams for 7 or more years. The NBA being a business, a lot of people bounce around the league all the time, even the top stars. And I don't want to touch Marcus Smart's stats because he's just one of those guys who is crucial to the team's success. It's all the little things he does to make Boston a winning team, and this is why Boston has been so set on keeping him all these years. He hits big shots, plays amazing defense, takes charges, and doesn't care if he starts or comes off the bench. But it's crazy to think that he is, one point in time, he was the number one shooting guard recruit in the entire nation. In 2013, it was Aaron Harrison, and he was 9th overall. And if you just said, who? You're not alone. This dude was a stud in high school and an absolute stud at Kentucky. But if you're an NBA fan, you might not know him very well. He declared for his draft after his sophomore year along with 6 other teammates at Kentucky, most notably Karl Anthony Towns, Devin Booker, and Willie Cauley-Stein. He would go undrafted but got picked up by the Charlotte Hornets. He would go back and forth from the team into the G League throughout the season, and when he was with the Hornets, he only played in garbage time about 4 minutes a game. And he would only play 5 games total for the Hornets the next year, but then he got a 10-day contract with the Mavericks the following season in 2017. But since then, he's played 2 seasons in a Turkish league and just signed a contract last year to the Olympiacos in the EuroLeague. In 2014, the number one shooting guard recruit was DAngelo Russell at 13th overall, and that's actually the lowest on this entire list. But he was a problem in high school. He was a high school All-American, 5-star recruit, and won back-to-back high school championships with teammate Ben Simmons. He chose to play at Ohio State and fastly became the best guard in all of college basketball. He was first team All-American and had a ton of hype around him because he just screamed NBA ready. And he has lived up to the hype, and even being the lowest rated player on this list has come out to have one of the best careers on this entire list. He would go on to be drafted second overall by the Los Angeles Lakers and was an instant impact to a struggling Lakers franchise. But various circumstances led him to leave the Lakers, and even though he was no longer a part of the Lakers rebuild, he would be able to fully showcase just how talented he actually was in the Brooklyn Nets organization. He started averaging over 20 points per game, became an all-star, and a staple of the new and exciting Nets team. We all know him pretty well. He was a part of the trade to the Warriors and then a midseason trade to Minnesota Timberwolves, and that's where he currently plays. But he is a huge part of their rebuild right now, and I'm very excited to see what's in store for DAngelo Russell. In 2015, we have Malik Newman. This is another prospect you might not know too well if you just strictly watch the NBA. In high school, he was a McDonald's All-American and averaged 29.7 points per game in his senior year. He would commit to Mississippi State but only stay there for a year. He would transfer to Kansas and have to sit out a year because of the transfer rules. He had a very solid season, averaging 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists, and he had a huge 32-point game to beat Duke in the Final Four. And he thought this was good enough to forego his last 2 years of eligibility and enter the 2018 draft. Looking back on this, however, it probably would have been wise for him to stay the additional years at Kansas because he went undrafted and would only get a 10-day contract and usually waived before he even touched the court. The only time he got any playing time in the NBA was in 2020, and it was in one game for only 4 minutes. After this, he played in a Turkish league, and 6 months later, he would sign to an Israeli team, and that's where he currently plays. It's really sad, but pretty easy to say this was a disappointing career for the #1 shooting guard recruit in the nation. In 2016, we have Malik Monk, and it must be something in the name because this is the second year in a row that the best shooting guard in the nation was named Malik. And he's best known for his one amazing season he had at Kentucky where he really got put on national notice. The skinny but freakish athletic guard had a ton of hype coming in the draft and would be selected 11th overall to the Hornets. Coming off the bench in his first 2 years for the Hornets, really struggled shooting the ball and only shooting 36% from the field. But people were really quick to write him up as a bust, and I loved what I saw from him and wasn't as quick to call him that yet. He really turned it around and is currently having the best year of his career so far this year. He's averaging 13.5 points and he's shooting 46% from the field and 44% from 3 on a lot more attempts. His story is still being written, and I cannot wait to see how he progresses as a prospect. In 2017, we have Trent Jr, and he was ranked 8th in the nation. And this 5-star recruit was highly recruited and every school wanted his talents. Well, he ended up committing to Duke University, and after a great freshman year, he decided to declare for the draft. He would be taken in the 2nd round by the Portland Trail Blazers, and he would go in and out of the G League, and you're probably thinking, oh boy, here we go again. But unlike the other people on this list, he made a comeback in a big way. He paid his dues in the G League, and he's having his best year in 2021 in his 3rd year. He even started 20 of the 33 games so far, and he's been on fire from 3 and is averaging just over 15 points per game. And if he doesn't get re-signed this year by the Trailblazers, there's definitely a market out for him right now. In 2018, we have Romeo Langford. He was one of my favorite high school players to watch in recent memory. He was very athletic, an amazing playmaker, and looked NBA ready in high school. And he only confirmed my thoughts in his freshman year at Indiana, and even though playing through injury, he didn't miss a single game and was Big Ten Player of the Week 4 times. He averaged 16.5 points, is what a consensus lottery pick going after his freshman year. And he did slip to the last spot in the lottery, but was selected by the Celtics. But unfortunately, he had a hard time getting in the NBA and getting minutes because he's playing behind Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, and Jalen Brown, and it's really hard to develop when minutes are harder to come by. So they decided to let him get his minutes in the G League, and he was killing it. And it was looking like he would get brought back up very soon, but he did suffer an injury and had to undergo surgery. My guess is he'll be traded to a team that's looking to rebuild young and on a lot of potential. So let's hold off on calling him bust quite yet because he has a lot of basketball left on his legs. In 2019, we have Anthony Edwards, and he was the 4th recruit in the nation. And I'm not going to spend too much time on him because he's very fresh in our minds, but he is very possible that he can become the best player on this entire list. He has had a very interesting rookie year, to say the least, and we saw flashes of how great he could be, but as the season progresses, he's becoming more and more consistent, and we see these flashes more and more often. He was the #1 overall pick in the draft, and he's a big part of this Timberwolves rebuild if they can keep their young core together. And in 2020, we have Jalen Green, and he was actually the #1 recruit in this entire class, which is the highest. So he's the highest rated shooting guard in the last 10 years. And we don't know exactly what is going to be in the NBA right now. He's in the G League right out of high school, but I made a full video on him talking about exactly what I think he's going to do in the NBA, so you should definitely check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was a ton of fun to make. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like. And if you want to see content like this every single day, make sure to hit that subscribe button. This is a super fun series. We've done point guards and now we've done shooting guards. If you guys want to see small forwards, this type of videos are a lot of fun to make. So let me know if you guys want to see that. There's a lot more research. They're a little bit longer. But if you guys enjoy them, I want to make them for you. So let me know down in the comments and I will see you all tomorrow. Peace.